Hello. Hello. It's summer over here right now and it has been really hot. And that means there's been a lot of cicadas singing in the trees, making an incredible noise. It might seem strange, but I have no idea what these things look like. I have heard them my whole life and they are seriously loud and invasive when they start making a noise. But I have no idea what they look like. I literally have no idea. And the other day I had the opportunity to go down to the coast of Tuscany and spend the day in this fabulous garden, which was just absolutely stunning. But the cicadas were making such a racket the whole day. So I kind of spent the time imagining what they look like. And I thought today would be a really fun, just quick, ridiculous video to draw out what I think they look like. And then at the end of the video, we'll go and actually see what they look like, to see if I got it right, if I got it wrong, how far off my imagination was. So that's what today is all about. Let's do it. Okay, so here we are in the pages of my sketchbook. This is just a random old sketchbook, and I have a W.H. Smith's black marker pencil. No idea what type. It's probably just an HB, but that is not important because today it's just all about what does the cicada look like. So I've never known whether there's actually one of these things in each tree making a huge racket or whether the tree is absolutely full of them. So it could be that there's just like this massive creature in a tree, which is extremely unlikely. So I'm going to go for the option that there's lots of them in the tree and they're all kicking off at the same time. But I imagine them looking like a kind of grasshopper. So on that basis, I'm going to give it a body. So I imagine, let's say the branch is here. I'm going to give it a body and a kind of head, like a blockish kind of head. And then it's going to have some legs to stabilize itself. So it's going to have a kind of leg like that with a foot to stabilize itself, and then it's going to have one coming this way as well. And then it probably have two shorter ones at the front. So that's how, let's give it an eye. Okay, that's how it's going to sit on the tree. So in order to make the noise that it makes, I think it's probably going to have these arms that come up. And on the end of the arm, there'll be like a kind of rotating thing, more like a fan. So let's give it another one. It's probably got several of these coming in all different directions. And these would whir about and make a kind of that noise that they make. I'll put it on in the background. So these might kind of go through the air. But I imagine that it's got this whole series of them and they kind of spin around. Well, these would spin around and then make that kind of noise. So that's one option for what the cicada looks like. Another one, so again, let's put this guy on a branch. So he's going to have the same kind of body. So we'll look at him from the front view. So he's got that nice kind of body and then a head on top. And then again, I'm going to give him some stabilizing legs. Those are the back legs, and then you can have some front legs coming out, or the other way around. I'm not very expert on insect perspective. So those are the stabilizing legs, just to keep him balanced on the branch. And then he's going to have, those are going to be his launch pads for his antennae. This guy probably needs some antennae as well, so let's give him some. So this guy, I reckon, because it's got to be that kind of noise. So I'm going to give him some arms. And then they're going to go up over his head. And then I reckon at the end of the arm, there's this kind of saw, but it's going to be a zigzag saw. He's probably got some big eyes and a zigzag mouth to go with his arms. So I'll just colour those in. So he rubs those together and goes and makes that cicada noise. I like both of these guys. I'm really hoping that this is how they turn out. It's probably on the unlikely side, but let's just keep going. So he could also be let's give him a bit of branch. He could also be a kind of long kind of chap, like a caterpillar. So he could be like this, and then he's going to have a head that's going to be looking upwards. And then again, he's going to have some stabilizing legs. So let's put those on. But I'm going to give him 6 because he's got a long body. And then he might have some kind of paddle, a bit like a tennis racket. A bit like a wing, but also a bit shaped like a tennis racket. But maybe it would be a kind of special kind of material wing, so that when it beats up and down, it kind of rustles like a piece of tissue paper, making that kind of noise. I'm not sure how this would work scientifically, but that is to be explored. And again, I'm going to give him that zigzaggy kind of pattern on his wings. Because in my mind, the noise of the cicada, it kind of creates zigzags. Sometimes when I hear stuff, sometimes when I hear stuff, I get an image. So that might sound really weird, but that's just how I picture things sometimes. So let's make him like that. And then he's going to have some antennae. And he's probably going to have a mouth. And he might be made up of zigzaggy segments. And if he doesn't look like that, then he could also, this time I'm going to put him on the side of a tree. So he could have a kind of flat-ish body. So he'd have his underbelly here in a bit like a turtle, but with a flat back. So I guess the tree is going to be, or the branch is going to be like that. And then he would have these legs that would come out and grip on. And then on his back, he'd have this, he's going to need a head. So let's give him a head. He'd have this, again, a zigzaggy pattern. I seem to have the zigzag stuck in my head. And as the air ripples over him, he would make movements that would make the air transform into that kind of zigzaggy noise. Again, don't ask me how that would work, but... And some antennae facing forward. And maybe he's going to have a tongue because he's on the tree. And he might like to eat resin. So that could also be what he looks like. Or he could be similar to this guy, but slightly different. So he's going to have a head. Give him a small head. And then a flat body with some antennae. And then some legs. And then this guy's going to have, much like a kind of a dinosaur, maybe a stegosaurus, the ones that have got the ridges on the back, or like a crocodile. So he's going to have ridges on his back. And then he's going to have this arm with a stick in it. He's going to be rubbing it up and down his back like a kind of musical instrument, like a xylophone. So in the doing of that, it would make the noise. So he could be like that, or else he could just be some cute little guy. Maybe he's more like a ladybird. And maybe the noise is him singing. So he might just be your regular kind of happy-go-lucky insect with some dots on him. And then the noise would come from singing. So I really have no idea if I'm way off track, in line. I think the most likely is one of these guys. This is probably the closest, or it's going to be, or maybe it's going to be like just rubbing his legs together. So maybe he is like, so he's going to be again kind of locusty shape or grasshoppery shape. So I'll give him just some back legs to sit on. Oops, attached to the body. And a front leg. And then maybe, let's give him a head first. He can be looking at us. He can have a smile. Maybe the noise is made by wings that beat together. So maybe one of the wings is up like that with a frilly edge, and another wing with a frilly edge. And maybe these two wings beat together and create the noise. At this point, I just don't know. I think I'm getting close to wanting to have a look and see. Okay, before I go and find out, I'm just gonna okay, the time has come. Let's go and find out. I'm going to go and grab my iPad and then we'll look him up. So here's the iPad. I still haven't figured out how to film it properly without the ring light shining on it. So if any of you are experts at filming with your iPad, please let me know in the comments below, because I could really use some tips. For now, I'm just going to put it over to the side. And let's go into Safari, bring up a new window. Cicada. I can't believe I'm only just looking this up. Go. No. Let's go images. Okay, here we are. And here they are. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that I'm finally looking at this creature. I cannot believe that I haven't looked it up until now. But I'm so excited to see what it looks like. And let's see, what did I get right? Pretty much. Not much at all, apart from the fact that it's got a slightly locusty body, so definitely was one more of these, much more so than these. But it's got, this one here's got some incredible colors. So I'm going to click on that one, which is the Peggy Notebart Nature Museum. Let's go there and see if we can get some more information. Everything you need to know about cicadas. Okay, let's just have a very quick nerd out. Wow, look at that. It's got these amazing red eyes and this gorgeous wing. So they're periodical cicadas with black bodies, orange legs and wings and red eyes. Synchronized mass emergences and incredibly long lifespans, 13 years in the southern and 17 years in the northern parts of their range. They spend most of that time underground as nymphs and only live for about a month above ground as a winged adult. Wow, look at that. That is absolutely spectacular. I had no idea they were so gorgeous. Let me just quickly skim through to see how they make this noise. You can hear them calling throughout the day when they're out and about. So annual cicadas, they can be seen and heard every year. Perhaps the most familiar species begin to the dog days cicadas, which are green and brown. They begin emerging in July during the dog days of summer and remain active throughout September, sometimes into October. They spend most of their life underground, approximately 4 to 7 years, and live above ground for about 2 to 3 months. While different species prefer to call at different times of the day, you can hear them calling primarily in the evening. Cicada life cycle and morphology. Okay, let's go back and see if it says how they make the noise. Okay, here we go. The abdomen is the largest body part of a cicada. A stiff membrane full of ridges called a tymbal can be found on both sides of a male cicada's abdomen. The tymbals are surrounded by muscles which stretch and vibrate the tymbals, and this is how cicadas make the sounds of their calls. The part of the abdomen behind the tymbals are filled with air and amplify the sound to become much larger. Well, who knew? It was obviously much less elaborate than I imagined. So there you go. Who knew? So I'm going to have to make a pattern out of these now that I have discovered them. Just for comparison, we're going to have to draw what they actually look like in a very rough way. And they've got their foot is split into two. I love that about insects. I find insects fascinating until they come into my house when I need them to leave as soon as possible. But they're so interesting to look at. So that is the cicada. And I'm just going to have some red eyes. So at this point, I decided that I should draw a more realistic cicada based on what I found when I looked it up. And when I say realistic, I mean only somewhat. I decided to use the Caran Neocolor II pastels, which I just finished making a video about. So I'll link to that at the end of this video if you want to go and check them out. And of course, once I'd drawn the realistic cicada, I wanted to make a pattern out of it. So I'll do that in the next few days. So there it is. I've learnt something today. I hope you had fun. When I've made the pattern, I will put a link in the description below to my Spoonflower shop where you can see it. And yeah, if you want to have something covered with cicadas, then you can go right ahead and get it from there. I'll try and do that as soon as possible. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.